Hello everyone, it's good to see you back. Everyone and their mothers are loving the new Ionic Sentry setup with geomags and whatever arc heavy you choose to pick. But have you guys given Necrochasm and Chromatic Fire a try this season yet? Now, not only will you be able to blind targets, but you can blind them in style, with multiple chaotic arc explosions occurring from enemy to enemy from one to another. At the same time, this will also feed back into our Ionic Sentry usage to the point of where we can have multiple of them available even when one is currently out on the field. And to achieve all of this, you just need to watch my video and blind everything in your pathway as well. So starting with exotic armor, Chromatic Fire with its exotic effect, Crystalline Transistor, it states, precision final blows from kinetic weapons creates an explosion in the element of your equipped super and apply a matching elemental effect. Arc blinds targets, Solar scorches targets, Void weakens targets, Stasis slows targets, and Strand sever targets. Chromatic is one of these exotics where you can use it however and wherever you like, and it won't feel too wasteful doing so. As we use an arc, we will be getting the arc blind effect for our main primary, which is small but noticeably impacting large groups. Being able to blind on demand is quite broken, considering that most elemental debuffs require some sort of setup or sacrifice on the player's hand first, but this with Outbreak, Revision Zero, necrochasm, whatever, can make a whole lot of change in seconds when using the right areas. Our second exotic is the necrochasm with its exotic effect, Cursebringer, which states, precision final blows with this weapon triggers a curse fire explosion and increases the reload speed for a short time. A final blows with curse fire explosions refill the magazine. When it comes to selecting which exotic is best to use, there are many to pick. Most players tend to pick Outbreak, as it is a well-known and most popular kinetic weapon everyone uses when donning Chromatic Fire. And while using it again would be a recommended choice, I had something better, which was to use necrochasm AR. Although gotten from a raid, the following is perfect for Chromatic Fire since both of them require precision kills to activate their given effects. On top of that, necrochasm fire explosion is coded as arc, which means we can technically get Ionic traces back from kills just from the explosions alone. If you have the weapon already, then I highly recommend you give this combo a try because it's actually quite fun. While those who don't have it, have free reign to explore other areas. For the aspects and fragments, we have the following. Electrostat in mind when defeating a target with arc abilities or jolted targets creates Ionic traces. Collecting traces make you amplified. Ionic Sentry, where defeating targets with kinetic, arc weapons, or arc abilities, will charge up an arc turret that will periodically attack nearby targets. Sparkle Shock, where your arc grenade jolt targets. Sparkle Beacons, where while amplified, special and heavy arc weapons can blind targets after kills. Sparkle Ions, where defeating jolted targets creates Ionic traces. Sparkle Frequency, where melee hits increase your weapon stability and reload speed for a few seconds. While amplified, the effects are increased and you gain increased bolt charges from all sources. Our focus here is to garner ability energy back from arc kills like normal, and this will be achieved through Ionic traces and fragments such as Sparkle Ions and Electrostat in mind as the aspect. Now the build won't be creating a crazy amount at first though through our weapons alone, but it will be done mostly through the necrochasm fire explosion exotic effect through the chain reactions, or just through Ionic Sentry, which is where the build is going to pop off the most. You see, Electrostat in mind will grant us amplified Ionic traces through jolt or blinding targets as a whole, which will be triggered by two exotics combined. Now this will affect Ionic Sentry since netting kinetic kills also builds it up and allows us to use it multiple times, one after another. The idea here is that by using our exotic to proc blind and be amplified, we can amplify how often the Ionic Sentry gets created, which can then start zapping and proccing bolt charges one after another while we carry on with netting kills and getting our second sentry up and running. By combining all of these and Sparkle Frequency to mix, we can proc bolt charges, blind, explosive throttle damage, multiple Ionic sentries, be constantly amplified, and have quite a bit of Ionic traces to come our way. Now I did read that having Sparkle Discharge is also helpful, since this can proc additional benefits along the way as well, but ultimately this depends on if you want to keep Sparkle Beacons on or not, which personally I would keep. Lastly, this will also work out really well with the Flashover and Defibrillator and Blast seasonal mods with how often bolt charges will work, so do also keep that in mind. For the mods and stats, we have Resilience and Discipline marked with the highest priorities for the build. Recovery and Strength have both been balanced out to have a tier 5 as their overall stat. Resilience we have ours at a tier 10 for a 30% damage reduction. I've added the Art Resistance mod, although this will vary from fights to fights, as Art Resistance tend to be the most recommended defense mods to use this season. I highly recommend you do keep this though, as it can help negate some damages from the Boomer Knights and Wizards when running this setup in endgame, and these enemies tend to be the worst ones to fight. A discipline, we have ours at a tier 10 for a 1 minute 1 second cooldown via pulse grenades. Grenades will not matter too much here, as you want to go with a grenade that is your best preference. Pulse grenades have good damage and duration and can be used multiple times, as long as we get the energy to do so. However, since our theme is using blinding tactics, the flashbang grenade is also another great choice to pick. Do be aware though that the flashbang grenade can easily miss its target because of its shape and size, and it will also not kill everything, unlike the other grenades available do. So to expand on the abilities being used, we have the following: Momentum Transfer ×1 for a 12% melee ability regen, Impact Induction ×2 for a 17% grenade ability regen, and Outreach for a 12% melee ability regen as well is generally what you should aim for. Now the additional mods, we have the following: Heavy Ammo Finder, Reserves and Scavenger mods for a heavy weapon, Ashes to Assets, where getting grenade kills will grant you super energy, Kinetic Siphon for creating also power via kinetic weapons, Charged Up for a +1 armor charge, Kinetic Surge ×1 for a 10% kinetic weapon buff, Powerful Attraction for automatically collecting orbs of power when using a class ability, and Time Dilation, which will reduce the decay rate of charged gear. So as we have covered our Zodiac primary weapon, I would then advise you to pick some super weapons for the build. What I recommend are all optional, so please keep this in mind. Our secondary is the Indebted Kindness with Beacon Rounds and Adagio. Suitable for dealing with anti-barriers, the following rocket pistol is excellent against all sorts of enemies it face, including bosses alike. I have paired this up with the Sparkle Beacon's Fragments just so we can proc blind on other enemies around us as well. This way, the build can maintain and keep its speciality going even when our main primary or heavy is not available. Then it comes to our heavy, which is the Storm Chaser, with a Clown Cartridge and Frenzy. Ideally, you want to make sure you have a fusion on hand just so we can make full use of the Parkour Deconstruction seasonal mod. Now, pairing this up with an Arc Linear Fusion for example will pay off pretty well when facing bosses and mini bosses alike. On top of that, we can activate some of the fragments for even bigger gains along the way. However, you don't need to have an arc weapon to make the build work. This has been added because of the current theme I'm just generally running with. If you don't care about matching everything down to a team, then the Scintillation Linear Fusion is a good option to pick as well, and that has some fantastic perk combos to pull off with. While it may look like combining Chromatic Fire and necrochasm may be an odd pairing at first, they actually play a crucial role when locking up groups of enemies one after another. Now, being able to not only blind one group one after another if you wish, but you can also inflict arc damage from the fire explosion, increase Necro's rate of fire, gain ionic traces from arc kills explosion, and most importantly can generate energy to get Ionic Sentry up and running quite easily. If you think the idea of blinding a vast group of enemies in one go is broken, you really haven't seen anything just yet. This build is amazing at what it does and what it specialises in, and considering that our Special and Ionic Sentry can also blind as well, it allows the build to triple down on the chaos it brings. And if there's one thing I love about Arc builds, it's just how powerful and synergetic the vast amount of our kit can be with just a simple amount of ease. While everyone is falling over Geomag and Outbreak Prime when it comes down to using the new aspect and build, not many people will use Chromatic Fire unless you want something pretty chill to operate with. And necrochasm now is an interesting one, as it's a very powerful weapon to use on all fronts, but just not that good against mages and above, unless you land precision hits only. In fact, a lot of players tend to use Outbreak Prime or Revision 0 when using Chromatic, as their base synergy pairs well with their damage and rage on all fronts. And yet, I chose to go with something different. A Necro and Chromatic Fire is like that odd kid in school, who you know is pretty cool to hang around with, but they always keep to themselves and out of sight. This is a cool variation that many people should actually give a try on, and is actually amazingly effective for all content, including GMs, which I found to be really helpful in the boss room. Overall, while the build can take many shapes and forms for the end user, this one's probably the most nuttiest one you want to main. So there we have it. I hope you all enjoyed the build breakdown. If you have any thoughts and content shared, then please leave a comment below. While if you enjoy the content and want more of these videos, then leave a like and a sub while you're here. A dim link for the build is located below in the pin section, and I do advise you to check out my playlist for more. It was great sharing today's video with you all, and I hope to see you again soon.